to attack U.S. military bases and claim that Cuban terrorists, they wanted to launch a fake war on terror. They even had in there it's called Operation Northwoods.
Yeah.
They even had in there ways to grab patsy Cubans who they'd put on trial and then execute.
Now, isn't this more of a not where we want to do this, we're going to do this, than a let us look at every option we can to get into Cuba and get rid of Castro? Obviously, it covers, these days, whenever you go into a war, you cover everything from a knife fight to nuclear weapons.
This was
and
not
everything
a scenario.
in between.
No.
It wasn't just some
this
idea.
Was not a scenario. This
bantered,
was not a scenario.
Ballied about
this
between
was not
each
a
other.
scenario. You can Google Operation. You can Google Operation Northwoods, National Security Archive. But let me just tell you, this was this was declassified in 2000. National Security Archive released in 2000, the actual Operation Northwoods. Then, 4 months ago, the State Department declassified its memorandums and minutes of meetings with Lemnitzer, with Bobby Kennedy, and with JFK. And the original communique and the original battle plan is a operational plan that had been green-lighted by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and they were asking for approval to invade. So this was a Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis era plan. This is what they wanted to do. And Bobby said, well, actually, let's attack our embassy in Honduras instead of killing U.S. citizens. Bobby said, I don't mind killing a few people, but let's not have it be actual embassy staff in Honduras. And then let's say Cuba did that. It's too incredible to say that Fidel Castro would attack the U.S. And so they took that to Kennedy. And then he fired Lemnitzer, and he fired the Dulles brothers and the head of the CIA. And no, it's on record that this was an operational green light battle plan. And Kennedy had also given the order to recall our troops from Vietnam. He'd signed an executive order to begin abolishing the Federal Reserve.
But I don't think anybody's disagreeing that there was a lot of motives to have JFK killed. Honestly, you might be right about all that. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. And I'm not saying there weren't a lot of motives to have any president killed.
But what I'm giving you is absolute admitted government fact. Gulf of Tonkin was staged. They did plan to stage terror attacks in the U.S. Even his brother agreed, but said do it in Latin America. And Kennedy said no. And they said, you think you're the president. Well, bang, you die. We're going to blow your head off in plain view. We're going to show everybody else in the establishment that the CIA can control the media, that we can kill a president in plain view and kill hundreds and hundreds of witnesses. And hundreds of people were killed that were witnesses to the fact. Hundreds were killed.
Do you hear how the thing I have, the issue I have with that is like, and then there's disinformation to me that the conspiracy guys buy, like, well, Oswald was a terrible shot. First of all, he was a sharpshooter. He was not a terrible shot.
It was a terrible rifle.
He was a terrible, but there's that myth that he was a terrible shot, and he was not a terrible shot. He classified as a sharpshooter and as a marksman before he left the military. And to think that they would use such a blundering...
The guy wasn't a communist. He's on record now. CIA.
No, the point I'm making is, why would they use...
Guys, let's go back to
But Alex, why would they use a bad shot? Like, I'm just very basic common sense things. Like, they're going to pull this off.
You know what? This is a straw man argument. Listen. You know what a straw man argument is, right?
No, I don't. It's what makes me question.
For some of your audience who may not, let me just tell them. Okay, Alex Jones says the Caribbean is aquamarine blue at high noon. Alex Jones says that if you go down to Belize at high noon on an average day, that the beautiful waters are aquamarine blue, light blue, and that the sand is white. Now, somebody goes out on the internet and they say, no, in the Caribbean, the sand is purple and the water is black, and there are sea monsters swimming around in it. That's what Alex Jones said. Okay, listen, there are... what a conspiracy theory is with the dominant, controlled, dinosaur corporate media. What we're sold as a conspiracy theory as anything, any thought outside of the established received knowledge given to us by ABC, CBS, NBC, or Fox News. Okay, the dry, stale, teleprompter, dying media. Anything outside of that is called speculation, opinion, conspiracy theory. It's a way to put something in a box. It's a way to minimize people's ideas. It's a way to put a stereotype on it.
But I'm not doing that. But I'm not doing that.
But what I'm trying to finish saying, and you're being very kind, but let me just finish this because it's key, is that I can't speak for the millions of kooks out there that call themselves conspiracy theorists, who make things up and then who discredit real discourse. But there are people who defend the establishment and still say that there were WMDs in Iraq and Bush didn't lie about it, when we have the government documents, White House and Downing Street memos, where they knew there weren't WMDs.
I think that's pretty well accepted these days.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not even saying you're wrong about that. What I'm talking about is the myths that are held by a lot of conspiracy theorists about Oswald's shooting ability and things like that. And you don't hear conspiracy theorists coming out and going, well, you know what, that's incorrect. He actually was a good shot. There were actually people on the 5th floor who heard the shell casings hitting from the floor above. Like, there's a lot of things that have happened, and then people hang on to the fact that, like, well, the House Select Committee on Assassinations said, yes, it was a conspiracy because of some audio thing that they heard. It's like you just don't hear the conspiracy theorists owning up to anything.
Well, in 1979, the congressional long investigation found that there was a 95% chance that it was a conspiracy and that other people were involved.
And I'll tell you, I think you're right about that. And I know that
Michael... No, I mean, I've got a copy of the report.
I'm saying I think you're right about that. I just don't have it in front of me. But the evidence was not based on medical evidence. It was not based on any type of physical evidence. It was based on acoustics.
I've interviewed Dallas Morning News reporters who talked to the surgeons at Parkland who said his brain was completely blown out. And then they gave us a fake brain and put it in a glass jar. And then when that became an investigation, it was robbed. It disappeared out of the National Archives. I mean, come on, guys. He was at a CIA spook base.
But hold on. But
I mean, the guy was at a total black ops base in Japan, was allowed to go into Russia to bring back a Russian wife. He was a deep cover national security operative.
So exactly. So if that's true, why use him? Why use a guy?
They always burn their military black op lower level people.
So they take a guy like that, they allow him to do it, and then they allow him to be picked up and questioned by the Dallas police?
Look, I don't know if he did it. You know, that's the problem. Listen, guys, I mean, let's just take 9/11 for a moment, okay?
Right.
He may have been one of the shooters. That's the whole issue, is that's how they do these black ops, to where you can prove that the official story's a lie, but because it's different intelligence agencies, and people say, well, was it the mafia? Almost all these TV shows say, some conspiracy theorists say it's the mafia. Some say the Pentagon. Others say it was rogue people in the South who were handing out flyers saying he was guilty of treason for civil rights. Others say it was the Israelis. Others say it was the Russians. Others say it was just McVeigh acting alone, or Oswald. And then when you actually go look at all the pieces, when you actually go do all the research, when you actually look at it, you find out that going back to World War II, that's what the OSS and then CIA would do. They use local mafia. They use local hitmen. And then they'll have another backup team on top of that. There'll be 3-4 groups of shooters, not even knowing the other groups are there. These guys are compartmentalized. You ever seen Mission Impossible? This message will self-destruct in 10 seconds? That is literally how this stuff works. It's all compartmentalization.
So these geniuses who can oversee all of this...
They're called spy masters, yes. They know how to put a man on the
all
moon.
of these things to chance. They basically leave all of these things to the human factors, are all going to go off without a hitch. And they make such glaringly bad decisions and such glaring errors that I can see, and believe me, I dropped out of high school, that you think anybody constructing a conspiracy of that level would have easily seen coming or nipped in the bud.
Okay, guys, please let me go over this with you. It was a conspiracy theory that our ships were attacked. Now it's admitted. It was a conspiracy theory that the government planned to stage terror attacks to blame it on Iran. Now that's been declassified. I mean, it's in the New Yorker magazine, confirmed White House officials admitting that 3 years ago, Dick Cheney wanted to paint up U.S. ships like Iranian ships and